Hey guys, welcome to the Talking Shed podcast. Today, it's Cody and I here in the recording studio here in Coldwater, Ohio.
Well, this isn't necessarily a recording studio. We're just in the back room right now.
But way out in Illinois, we've also got guest host Jeff Wherley. Jeff, how's it going?
Good, guys. How are you?
Good.
Not too bad.
Good.
Good. Just snowing down just big old flakes right now in western Illinois.
Really?
Yeah.
We don't even know what snow looks like right now.
What's the first for us, too, I think.
Yeah.
We haven't had much at all. So,
Yeah, it's, December 28th, and, heck, it's a little cooler now, but like over Christmas, we were 50 degrees.
It was beautiful, 60. Christmas, I think when we had one Christmas, we were opening all the windows, had the screen doors open. It's like, you get to wear your ugly sweater this year very long. You were pitching that baby.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, if everyone in Illinois would quit burning tires and flying airplanes, we'd have snow here someday again.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So of course, for the longtime listener, they know who Jeff Wherley is. But Jeff, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Talk about what the heck you do on a daily basis.
Oh man, I feel sometimes on a daily basis like a ping pong ball. Because sometimes you go. Obviously, Devastator's still selling those on the early order program, which goes through January. So that's to talk on those. Guys saying, "Hey, I'm going from an 893 to a case 4408. What's it going to take?"
Yep.
So that planner accessories, guys getting ready. Strip till definitely has been on the question board, you might say. Guys calling and asking and talking, and so yeah, it's really.
Yeah, and so you're the territory manager for what part of the country for Yetter?
Yeah, eastern, so everything east of Illinois, and then all western Canada, Quebec, Ontario. So yeah, I get a wide variety of conversations each and every day from, which is interesting. Different soil types and different things here. And, it just is. You just never know where the next one's coming in from, basically.
Right. And, I mean, I don't want to date you, but you've been there since row cleaners were pretty crude.
Yeah, we were just getting into the row cleaner market. I had the cleanup crew with the brush and the discs, and then the finger wheels kind of came. And that's kind of where it's really started and just took off. I mean, that moved that residue enough, and guys, you could really see the warming up and really the clean seed bed. Just planting every seed having better seed to soil contact. That really was a game changer. Guys could really see that type. So,
what was Yetter's very first product again? I used to remember.
Those wheel cleaners for steel. The steel wheels turning while they were building mud. And so Harry Yetter or whatever, they kind of came up with an idea to have a cleaner on those, so every time that turned, it'd clean that little spike.
Got it.
So that was one of the first ones that was way back in the early days for sure. But
yep,
lifetime of accessories. I mean, it just seems like always things that are going to help the operation and just streamline it, and simple, just ideas really.
Yeah, well, big manufacturers want to make things that are streamlined and are easy to manufacture. They don't want to customize too much because it'll screw up the manufacturing process. So you let them manufacture, and then your products tailor to South Carolina, the gentleman in Roxon, Michigan, and
Right.
down in Cotton Country and Pennsylvania.
We prescription fed.
Yeah.
You take it to the next level, you go to urgent care, they kind of hit the broads and give you that, but then you go to your regular doctor, then they dig in and, what's this and what's that, and, just a little more in depth, trying to match the guy up with the right scenarios. And I tell a lot of farmers, like Ohio, I talked to a guy this morning and it was like, Finnig equipment, those guys have the experience. They're in the dirt all the time. They know soil types much better than I do. I can get you in that 90-80% there. But, talk to those guys. Those guys, they sell a lot of it, and then they know the landscape, you might say.
Right. Yeah,
so it really brings it all the way full circle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course, Dad was doing Yetter stuff back at the cold water implement days, and I jumped in, I think around 10 or 11, and so yeah, it's been nothing but smooth sailing, with Yetter. Anything from, man, I remember when, one of the first products I remember selling was maybe some disc sealers for an anhydrous bar.
Yep.
We had this our warehouse was the second bay of our old shop here, and I remember we had a stack of them, and of course there's a lot of different parts to a disc sealer, and that was before we ever had a computer generated inventory program, and we were calling you saying what all parts do we need, and but yeah, whereas today, I'm getting ready to do a walk around video of our new and improved warehouse.
Yeah.
But going from where we started to where it is today, it's night and day.
Isn't that funny? And just look at the short amount of time. You know what I mean? How fast and things have moved, even in agriculture.
Yeah.
You look at 5 years, how quick. It's just exciting to see what the next 5 years are going to bring.
Yeah.
I mean, because the growth and the, things are all right there in place. We know the agenda, and the agenda is doing more with less inputs and less employees, and that's just where it's headed. I mean, we just, that's the name of the game.
Yeah. Yep, I would agree. That kind of rolls us into one of my questions that I wanted to ask you. Yeah. Corn isn't quite priced where it once was. Inputs kind of still are.
Yep.
What kind of stuff are you seeing guys doing? Efficiency is going to be key. Like, for example, I myself, I planted wheat last year. I planted double crop beans, and I'm projecting for this next year. I've got my wheat planted, and I already cut a little bit of cost out of my wheat seed. I used a little bit different type of seed. I'm going to try and watch my passes, and then I'm going to do less. I'm going to feed my double crop beans less. So already I'm looking at cutting some passes, trying to still squeeze as many bushels out without getting all those invoices in the mail from the co-op or the supplier.
Right.
So what stages are you seeing that we can help with, whether it's yourself or Finnig equipment? We could talk about this for days, but hit on some of the key notes that maybe you're seeing guys hone in on to get back to just being efficient and focusing on ROI.
I'll tell you, it's really all over the board. Every operation is different.
Yeah.
That's for number one. And really changing the system, with going to cover crops or messing with strip till, or just anything of that nature. It takes a while to work it into the operation, the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think guys are looking, doing less total till, and you guys sell loaded total till, but I think over the years we've seen the progression of all these, tools. They come and they go, but we're still here. We are still outfitting true strip till and or planter attachment, or things. So it just seems like a lot of people are migrating to more of those systems and learning more, and like you say, less of a footprint with how many companies and dealers and inputs and everything they have to work with. Send, less checks to send out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the cover crop, there's still a lot of questions and, still a lot of learning in that side. I mean, there's no silver bullet, but hey, there's innovators out there that are doing it, and they're teaching everybody else too, as far as that goes. So I don't know. It's hard to put your finger on one thing where guys are trimming the corners. I just know if you're gonna grow, get more acreage, you're gonna have to learn to do it on a skeleton crew, because it's just finding employees and good employees and that type of thing. It's how it is. It's harder all the time.
Right. And yeah, I mean, I think making your planter be able to plant into anything that you ever wanted to throw at it is
Right.
one of the number ones in my opinion.
Right.
For example, Cody and I planted double crop beans into my wheat, and we thought about doing a tillage pass. But quite frankly, we didn't have time. We didn't want to release any moisture from the soil. Mm-hmm. And we had air adjust row cleaners on our white 8000 with polyspike twisters, and we increased a little bit of down pressure on those 2940s, and boom, we're planting soybeans into a clean strip.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so it's like, why make that pass? Whereas I look at guys who don't have that capability to turn their planter into just a completely, pull into any field and make a few tweaks and adjustments to down pressure and closing wheels and this or that, and boom, you're going to have a picket fence stand no matter what.
We have changing conditions and changing soil types. That's the catcher right there. There's no one every year is the same, because that's not the case. So, we've seen it. What works one year falls on its nose the next year. So that's where I think, you guys and we do a good job of getting the guy, into something that he's pretty much going to be wet, dry, hard, whatever conditions, it's going to perform.
Right.
And that's what that's where the knowledge comes along. I mean, we're just not selling because we've got it in stock or whatever. We're, it's proven. It's year in, year out, that thing. So, yeah, I think that there's a lot of varieties out there for different customers, and I never could understand why guys wanted to just till everything up and then say, man, she's dry out there. Why are you opening it up? Leave it alone.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the guys who have got their big giant planter backed into the shop, and it can only plant corn if it's had 4 tillage passes in front of it.
Right.
Man, that corn planter is capable of a lot more than that. Give it more credit, get it outfitted, and it's going to pay for itself tenfold.
Right.
You don't have to worry about that hired hand running into a hole or hitting a pole or doing something with a tillage tool. Now, granted, we sell plenty of tillage tools as well, and there's a purpose and a place for all of them. But right. I think that there's a fine line there between letting the tillage tool do the work and letting the planter do the work. We've got that Halo VRT. That thing is amazing for prepping seed beds, chewing up stalks, but it's not a 4-pass tool. We're not taking
right.
a Case 875 out there and then hitting it 4 more times to beat it down. The Salford lineup is 1 pass and plant. You can always plant behind them.
Exactly.
But Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more of that stuff. This fall running tillage, I talked a lot about devastators.
Yeah.
When I pull into a guy's farm to do a tillage demo and his stalks are standing straight up, he's already behind the game.
Right.
He's going to ask me to set this tillage tool to be a one-pass implant on soybeans, and I'm thinking, well, your stalks are standing straight up parallel with my blades. So I'm not really going to be able to cut and size the strongest part of the stalk already.
Right. Longest to break down, you're just maybe just logic moving off to the side of it. It's still going to be there.
Right. Versus these guys that have got the devastators, these stalks are laid flat, and I come through there at an angle. I'm cutting and sizing the strongest, stoutest part of that stalk with both rows of blades instantly. And I'm getting a lot better cut. I'm getting a lot better residue management. So right there, that devastator, shows itself again. So when it comes to ROI becoming efficient, I think it starts with the planter and the combine, getting them dialed in. I did a YouTube video there a few weeks back talking about residue management starting with the combine. And you look at a field that's been calmered and devastated, and you've got a field that's ready to roll. I mean,
well, the picture you sent that picture the other day of that residue that was just black. I mean, it just showed. Give that another 2 more months. Just think, give that another 2 more months. And it's like I tell guys, you got potato chips out there.
Yep.
I mean, there's nothing really left. And I mean, if a guy doesn't have, I don't care. If a guy does not have a devastator on, he's not doing the best he can do.
Right.
I mean, he's leaving money on the table. At the end of the day, he's getting more tire wear. He's definitely, making it more of a struggle for a one-pass implant situation, because it's going to affect the planter and the way it's going through and his accessories and his on. I mean, that whole scenario is huge.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
You're seeing that with the planters just being more specific and on. We want that seed placed the same depth every one. I mean,
yep.
I don't know.
Yep. So, recently we've had a nice uptick in Yetter Magnums. We, anhydrous for us the last few years. I mean, everyone who does, if you're anhydrous, you're going to do anhydrous. We say in the hunting game, killers kill, and anhydrous guys put on anhydrous. So it's never going to die. And I know sometimes it sounds like I'm saying that, but there have definitely been a lot of people that switch to 28. Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, look what you guys sell. I mean, your toolbars.
Right.
You know what I mean? You got to look at that market of side dress rigs and all of them being with tanks on them versus gas. I mean, I don't know. It's got to be showing up that fewer and fewer people, and we've talked about this before, the next generation, you're going to see that decline, aren't you?
It sure seems that way. A lot of the guys that I'm talking to that are switching to liquid, the boys coming up through the ranks, he's 25, 35, 40 years old, and he's looking at his dad saying, hey, we're getting a liquid bar, period. I had a guy tell me that this fall. He said, well, we haven't made a decision which way we're going, but I can tell you we're going to go to liquid for next year. And it was the younger generation driving that. And
right.
So, but we had a nice little uptick in Magnums here lately. Got a set going down to southern Indiana and a set going out west. So,
I agree. It's still an efficient way. It's still a cheap product, and guys understand it and know it. Yeah, it's not ever going to go anywhere. But I just, I don't know how much longer. I guess unless there just goes into something that's totally tizzy with the liquid side, but I don't know. There's really never been any studies. I guess there has been liquid versus anhydrous, and I don't know. It's all on the operation size, I guess, is what it comes down to. But
Yeah.
how big were those guys? Were they big bars, Southern Indiana, and that, or?
One was a 17, and
Uh-huh.
one was a 13.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
yep.
Well, speed. No, that's just like you say. Speed is the payback right there. The ROI.
Yep.
You know,
Efficiency.
everything that we offer is going to have an ROI. Some are bigger, some are less, and just depends on the situation too.
Yep. A couple years ago, well, we had a little uptick on these CC units as well. We've sold some lately.
Yeah.
But strip till in general, it's been a hot topic. It always has, and some days you say, man, strip till is really. I feel like we've been saying that for 5 years. Strip till's been talked about a lot. We talk about it all the time for a long time.
I've been selling it for 30 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the very first L128 we had, and then we through the progression of. That one time we had a deal with Monsanto where I think we did 15 bars and had Gandy boxes on them and blowing dry fertilizer. I mean, that's been 25 years ago.
Huh.
And we're still chugging along because it's kind of a change, obviously it's just a total change from what the grower's been used to.
Right.
That's kind of what I see. It's like no-till culture and taking it off.
Yeah, it's definitely a management change, and really, it requires more help from other people. But what I was getting at is that CC unit came out, and you guys for a short period of time offered a knife.
Okay.
The people want the knife back.
Right. That's right. There's definitely guys, and I think there's a guy out there making knives to fit our CC, isn't there?
Yeah, we're in process right now of making something. I mean, we're going to make just a fertilizer style knife, and I don't think that it needs to be a mole knife digging 8 inches deep to break up your grain cart compaction. I don't.
Right.
I'm not saying that, but we are. Well, in fact, some guys bought some CCs from me, and they want just a fertilizer knife in there, and so we're going to make some brackets. It's going to be pretty easy to do, but I think that unit will gain some traction.
Yeah, and we've definitely looked at it, and there's some things on the drawing board down the road. I think we're going to see maybe something different. I don't know how long it'll take, but maybe something a little more industrial side, of knife. Or I think at the end of the day, if you can change and keep the same unit bolted on the toolbar and go from A, B, C, or D, you know what I mean? I think is going to be the best scenario.
Right.
So, and even for the grower and for the dealer, because now you got one unit out there and boom, it's
right.
You don't go changing. So, but
Fort Wayne Farm Show, we gonna see you there?
Caleb's going to be there. I'm going to be at I'm going to be over in Indianapolis.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
I'll be in Indianapolis the week before, I think it is. And then Caleb is going to, he's coming over and going to be on your lot there. Caleb's he's caught on and catching on. Yeah, very quickly, and understands and has that farm background and mentality, and just all around. So he'll be there and handle any other questions or whatever guys are after. So
right. Yep.
That's coming up. Geez, isn't it something? I mean, every year at Fort Wayne, we just like, God, here's another Fort Wayne show. It's just and then we'll be down Louisville.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're just a couple weeks out from Fort Wayne. It's coming right up here. So heck,
Are you going to Commodity Classic at all?
Where's it at?
Houston.
Well, why don't you and I just go?
You know, I was thinking of that. That was probably one of your first whatever kind of interviews. Remember when we did that morning?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That pops up on Time Hop every once in a while, but you know, that was kind of that was the Larry, what's his last name?
That's where I met Larry Tomball with Tomcat
there
Roofing.
You go. There you go. Yep.
Yep.
Exactly.
I talked to, in fact, I didn't have time, but Larry emailed me a invite yesterday to a webinar he was having today, and I just didn't make it on there.
Didn't that say though? Look at that! All these years, you still had a network person that you still stay in touch with.
Oh yeah, he called me. And we kind of reconnected. Probably, I bet it was 4 months ago, and we got to talking. And he goes, "Yeah, I had my neighbor put on my cover crops for me this year." And I said, "Oh yeah, that's cool." He said, "Yeah, he got his cover crop seeder from you." I said, "Really?" Then he told me who it was, and it was Darren Sass with S&S Chemical out in Streeter, Illinois. I said, "Oh yeah." I said, "I know them boys," and they're running a new set of
Mavericks.
Yeah, Maverick row units.
16 rows. Mm-hmm.
Yep, I traded in their old Mavericks, and they're running a brand new set of Mavericks this fall.
Yep.
So, but yeah, small world. Yeah, you know, Wherley and I went down to
New Orleans.
Yeah.
Orleans.
Yep, to the Commodity Classic. That was the first time Yetter was there, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was exactly the very first year that we kind of tipping our toe into that business and seeing what that is and what have you. And it's grown. It's definitely grown. This year we're going to have a bigger booth, actually,
Okay.
in Houston. So we've actually increased our size. So, and I think there's two guys going to go. I think Tyler and Ryan is going to go, or maybe even Ryan and Caleb, because Caleb's going. Randy Dowdy has his little meeting down there in Houston like a few days before the Commodity Classic.
Okay.
So, you know, Yetter is going to be there. And, you know, he has a lot of growers from Ohio and Indiana. I mean, throughout everywhere that, you know, come to his little meeting deal. So it'll be good as well.
That was fun. I drove out to Illinois. I met you at, didn't we just meet at your house and we drove down to New Orleans?
Yep.
Man, what a fun time that was. Got into the seafood and New Orleans is just a different world, man. At night, that place just turns into a journey, a circus.
That's it. It is a whole different avenue. That's for sure. That's
Yep.
right.
Yep. I remember, that was a heck of a time. And that was my first Commodity Classic, the only Commodity Classic I've ever been to. And I'd love to go back. It was so neat because it was early March, and back home, it was cold. There was snow on the ground, and then you'd start to creep south, and pretty soon it's 40 degrees, and then you get through Arkansas, and it's 50 degrees, and then get down to New Orleans, it was 70.
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, that was definitely, and those are good. You know, like I say, some of these shows like that, they're gaining ground. Of course, they have seminars, you know, and I think that's the key to shows going forward. You know, is they got to have other things for growers to get guys to come in, you know.
Well, I remember when during that Commodity Classic, there was many times I'd talk to guys on the phone, and maybe I'd talk about going down there or something or whatever, but a lot of guys didn't really even know what it was.
Right.
You know, you'd say Commodity Classic, and they're, oh, okay, yeah, maybe I heard about that one time. Well, now I talk to a lot of growers, and they're like, well, I can't do it that week because that's Commodity Classic. And it's like, oh, geez, you know, you just hear it more, and that's definitely something that's gaining steam. And I think you're right; it's a huge value added event. It's not just show up at the door and walk around until your knees can't move anymore and go home.
Exactly.
You know, you can go there and learn and kind of make a little bit of a vacation out of it.
Yep.
But really invest some serious time into your operation and hopefully go home with some things to put to work.
That's it. That's right. They have a lot of guest speakers, and there's just a lot of knowledge. And then you can walk around and see some iron and talk to company people. It's a one-stop shop really for ag. If you're rooted into ag, it's definitely a good thing to attend. I feel anyway. So, but yeah, that's slipping right up on us as well. So, but
Huh.
I think it'll be all pretty darn good as far as everything's ready to go for this year, and a few new displays we have, and yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we're working on some displays right now for Fort Wayne. I'm thinking on our Devastator display, I was talking to Cody, I thought about putting like a tray in the bottom. Right now the bottom of that display is just like some square tubing welded together and it's open.
Right.
I thought about putting a little tray in there to throw some Calmerized stalks and
Yep.
then throw devastated stalks and non-devastated stalks in there to show guys at the show.
I mean, don't you remember we did that farm science that year?
Oh, yeah.
We grabbed some stalks that after it run through, grabbed them and brought them back to the lot. And
Yep.
stood up there. I mean, then, it was just the whole witness that you guys could see exactly what it was going to do for them. I mean, it's ideal.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, so that's my plan. I want to kind of enclose that little display and just be able to show guys, hey, we pulled this right out of our field and it was harvested on this day and all that, and show the breakdown throughout the year up to that date. So,
and that's the thing. A lot of guys don't get out and see. So when you do that, some of them you're going to be like, well, I'll be darned, I got a Devastator and I never paid attention or never out and really looked. So
yep,
it'll definitely be a good educational feature. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yep. No doubt. Yeah. So anything new coming down the pike with Yetter? I know that when I was at the Farm Progress show, Derek was kind of showing me the new cast rings.
Yeah.
Would you say that's kind of one of the newer products, or is there more?
No, that's definitely one that we've added to the Twister family, if you will. There again, prescription fitting. We have the complete wheel that adds 32 pounds back there, and then we have the poly twisters. That's probably 10 or so pounds.
Yep.
And this is going to be in mid range into that, 15, 18 pounds. It's basically just in a mid range thing, and and if there are some guys I truly have not run into, and I'm going to ask you guys, I mean, the twisters themselves, do you find replacement sales, or do you have replacement sales?
I've just maybe started hearing a few guys chatter about it.
Yeah.
A couple guys, they say, well, I maybe need to get with you next spring. My twisters are starting to have a little bit of a roll to them, and so it's rare. I don't know if I can think of a time that I truly physically sold a new set of rings or completes to a guy because his old ones were worn out.
I mean, it's unreal. Guys ask me all the time when to replace, and of course, I tell guys when they come up to a cone, you'll start to see them kind of that chunky lug, it starts wearing the corners off and it starts rounding, and when it starts to get really smaller in size, that's because that's what makes them successful, is that chunkiness of that tamping and tucking action is really really a game changer from the other wheel designs that any of the wheel designs that come up like a point. There's no firming there.
Right.
But sidewall is fine, but the part that's entering the soil is so narrow it doesn't leave any footprint, and that footprint, I'm convinced, is what gives us those picket fence stands.
Yeah. It creates an unevenness. It detracts from the ability of crusting. It creates some fracturing for that root to, or not the root, but the sprout to make its way through a broken up top, even if it does rain a little bit or something. I don't know. There's so many. Honestly, you could arm wrestle people over what really it truly is about that poly spike. Because honestly, for me, you were just talking about the structure of it and the footprint, and I agree. But I think it also goes back to the length of the spike. How short it is, and the lightweight portion of it, and how we're not putting a lot of down pressure on that furrow.
Right.
So you could go back and forth, and then again, you could say, well, no, it's none of that. It's not even any of that. It's actually the fact that you can space them 1.25 inches apart and get right on top of that crack, right where your seed discs are running. Right. So you could talk about all the different avenues of what really is the secret to that closing wheel, but there's not one. There's 3, 4, 5.
Yep.
And then
and you can see it, just like you say. You can tell, when emergence comes, that there's something different here. That it just, the tucking it down in that seed trench is really what, I think makes a difference.
Yeah, and think about this: we haven't even brought up the fact that there's a left and a right.
Yeah,
right.
You've got that direction. So,
right.
Like I said, you can go on and on about what it is about the secret of that poly twister, but I get that question a lot. Well, what makes that one better? And it's like, well, it's this, and this, really.
Right.
But
and it's just not blue sky. It's actual. It's actually what we see. I mean, because it caves the sidewall plus tamps.
Right, and
that's where a lot of these are just breaking sidewall, but they're still leaving air, a little pockety, and it's not tucked in like corn just loves to be.
Right, and I do. And another thing I love about them is just the amount of ROI they carry with them. I mean,
right.
You can. It's like anything, whether it's cars or hunting gear. You can spend a little bit of money, or you can spend a lot of money.
That's right.
And what's beautiful about the poly spikes is they're actually on the lower end of the spectrum when it comes to cost of
closing systems.
Yeah, when you're comparing a closing system, you can get into thousands of dollars.
Right. I mean, just that little expense makes the biggest difference that you can make, one of them anyway.
Yeah, and so the ROI of a couple $1,000 closing wheel system, I don't know that it's there. And so, it's just a powerful little package, and I think that's what I think a lot of guys may revert back to here in the next couple coming seasons is, it is nice to have this or this and the shiny gadget and this on your planner.
Right.
But it better start pulling its weight.
And these guys, I talk to a lot of guys that maybe try one twister on one side and have a cast or something. You got to get away. You got to have 2 twisters. You got to have one on each side of the row. That's a corner that's trying to cut a corner it's not going to be worth it at the end of the day.
Well, it's just not how they're designed to run, period.
Right.
And yeah.
So that's the biggest thing we got to impress on these guys is yes, 250 per row, 150 per row for the inserts. That's not going to break the bank anywhere. So why chance and just do one side and that type of thing? So, but
yeah, I just saw
huge difference. But poly, speaking of poly, we do have a new poly gauge wheel, floater wheel, I should say.
Oh yeah, for the row cleaners.
So, we've seen this over the years that silver floater wheel that everybody has, it has a dish to it. And, in some min-till, work ground, one pass tillage, softer, fluffier. Well, that thing can be the one that's rooster tailing some soil.
Yeah.
And so, these polys are all enclosed. And so we've done some pictures and done some side by side, but it's amazing by going to that poly floater versus the, typical ones, you get a lot less soil throwing too.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Are they the same width?
diameter wise and everything is the same.
Okay.
Now the poly do taper down just a little more, or maybe, they've got a taper to them. See, and that's the other reason, the metal ones don't. They're just flat out there.
Sure.
So that, it's
the
a little
angle.
more failing action going on with that open rim.
Yeah.
And so, but we can do the polys on old style hubs and wheels or new style. So, now we can be more diverse with that poly. I think it definitely has some advantages. And somebody that, if they tell me they're in conventional or Mintil, I'm suggesting that floater wheel if they've got row cleaners for sure.
Got it. You ought to send us a set of those. Maybe we can put them on for Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
I'd like to do a couple of videos on those and just kind of talk to guys and get a few rows on some guys for this next spring.
That with that shark tooth finger, and I know we just have a wide variety of products. Sometimes it's hard to keep up, but a Mintil type scenario, that shark tooth finger or high speed planter.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have as much metal, and coupled that with that poly floater wheel, it's a pretty nice combination.
Yeah. Yep.
But food for thought, that some of those things don't always make their way to the forefront, but they're pretty good little upgrades or additions for sure.
Okay. Yeah, something to keep in mind. We talked about the different weights of the closing wheels and this and that. I think that's something that gets overlooked a lot. I talk to a lot of guys about it, and it mainly gets brought up when we start talking about the wear of the polys. I ask them, well, what notch are you running in? Oh, well, I left it in that third notch that I was in with my smooth rubbers from John Deere, and it's like, man, you're putting way too much down pressure on that wheel. And I wish that those polys, every set of them came with a digital scale, and you could go through. But I mean, I think that we would be blown away at the exact PSI that we're putting down on those, because when you're running through the field, there's only about 3 spikes touching the ground
at a time.
Yeah, and the surface area is very, very small. So if you're in
exactly, shouldn't take that much. But here's the thing too, Adam. I'd like to see a guy put a scale on your seed disc blades, and then show when you go to first, second, or third notch how much pressure we're bringing away from our seed disc blades.
Okay, yeah.
The more pressure we put back here with our V close wheels, it takes pressure away from our row unit. I mean, that we got to gain that from somewhere.
I see what you're saying.
You see what I mean? It's like a teeter-totter almost.
You're saying we're robbing it from the down pressure.
We're robbing it from our downforce. And that's why a lot of guys, you go to the cast, and man, every bit of their downforce now is to go to put our seed disc openers in the ground and keep our gauge wheels against the ground. We're not having to compensate for a lot of pressure at our rear end, trying to shove that slot closed.
Yep. All of a sudden they're backing down their down pressure, you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I see what you're saying. And then it requires even less down pressure to break down the sidewall compaction on the closing wheel end of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I got it. Yeah. And
so, that's what the weight, I think, and some of these guys want to put air back there. Well, as well as I, some guys get way too carried away, but, putting all that pressure there when maybe we just need to add that cast wheel or just add the cast inserts, add a little more. And just like you say, it's that customer that's getting into that third notch. I mean, if you're, even play with that third notch, you probably ought to get some weight back there or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's something else wrong.
Right.
There needs to be an alarm that goes off when you start creeping into the third notch, even the second, that starts shooting red flags up saying, okay, what am I doing here? There must be something else that I need to look at, because we got to remember that seed has to fight through that PSI. And when we talk compaction and stuff, if you're working on the third notch of the spring, and you've got the weight of the tail wheel piece, the weight of the closing wheels, and the weight of that spring pushing down on 3 of those spikes.
Yep.
That's an immense amount of PSI.
Yeah.
And now that seed has to fight back up through that, and we might drive by that field 3 days later and say, "Man, that corn is not just pumping out of the ground like I want to see it." Well, you ran a steamroller over the furrow.
Mm-hmm.
No kidding.
You know,
That's or varying soil types. Some areas you just be beating and pounding that slot closed, and that's I guess I just don't like to have to put much pressure. Let that thing just kind of float along and just the weight needed. The soil type determines the weight it's needed almost. You might so, but
yeah, you can definitely do more with less when it comes to the down pressure of the closing wheel.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right.
No doubt.
Everything's going along good.
So what's up in the Wherley household this week? You had Christmas over the weekend. How was that?
It was good. So we had, like 3 events. I think we figured up 22, 18, and 24. Mm-hmm. Those were the people that we ran through our house and kitchen and food and had to prep food for. And I'll tell you, it's a lot of work, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
A grocery store, I mean, hell, you about have to call 911 when you got to the register and they told you the bill. Son of a...
Yeah.
It's like you've been robbed.
Yeah.
That's always a good time. No, we all everybody gets along good, and we're blessed that way that, yes, it was a good Christmas. So
that's good. Yeah. This is always a fun time of year, that time between Christmas and New Year's. You've got maybe some good football games going on, and of course tomorrow the Buckeyes play, and so
that'll be interesting.
it will be interesting, no doubt. Yeah, it'll be fun to watch them play, and then we start leading into some bowl games, and it's just a fun time of year. You kind of reminisce on the past year and maybe look at what you want to do different for this year. And it's just a fun time of year. You got, it typically a lot of customers calling in. Last few days have been busy. We've been selling some stuff. Some guys wanting to get some stuff taken care of by the end of the year and kind of turn the page to 2024. It's an exciting time, and I'm excited for 2024 and what it holds for not only Fennec equipment, but the ag sector in general.
Yeah, it is exciting, I think, and I'm as excited just because of where our product line is. We're more of a year-round type product anymore. We the fall, the nutrient placement things to the summer, and I don't know. It's just everything that we're offering really has a potential to really help the grower and put more money in his pocket, more so than anything.
Yeah. And
I just, the future is definitely going to grow more into all the things we talked about, fewer trips, fewer manpower, farming more acres with less and less inputs. It's good. Some guys have really got it figured out, and there's a lot more to come.
Oh yeah. Yep. Speaking of kind of some strip till and some unique stuff, I had a gentleman up by Lake Erie call me probably a few months back. Vegetable grower, really good vegetable grower. I mean, he knows more about squash than we ever dreamed of knowing about corn, beans, or wheat.
Yeah.
And I put my beds down and then I cover them. Well, I cover them because, see, if you cover them before October, the sprouts will come up, and it's just like, man, this guy's got it figured out.
Right?
But he called me, and he wants a strip till bar, a 3-row Maverick. And we would have to kind of offset the units. He wants to figure out how to get them on 20 inches. These beds of his are on 20 inches. And so he's actually going to our Nova store tomorrow morning and him and Seth are going to sit down and they're going to call me, and we're going to walk through it and try to get him into a Maverick bar. So there you go, Mavericks for vegetables, and he grows everything. I mean, yeah, it's pretty impressive what he grows. It's called like Chef's Garden, Bob's Chef's Garden or something. Pretty cool.
Garden. I did that years ago and have done it like pumpkins. Guys would, I've sold Mavericks because they'll make a 2-row or whatever, but pumpkins will grow out then on the straw or the residue, and it never touches the soil, and the soil is what rottens the outer part.
I see.
And so these guys will plant, strip till right through some heavy barley or, whatever's. And boy, then when the pumpkins grow out, they just grow on, they're basically just laying on straw.
Yep.
And, that's guys have found that they get a much better product. And maybe it's the same with squash is what he's wanting to do. So
could be. Yeah. I don't know.
No disease or just rot from being against the ground. Now it's just cradled on that. But yeah, it's just little things like that the knowledge and what you learn it's unbelievable every day.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
no doubt. Forget what I was going to ask you here. I know what I was going to say. When is the next time I'm going to see Jeff Wherley?
Yeah, it's going to be probably Louisville.
Okay.
Unless you come to Indianapolis for a day or whatever, or slip over. But yeah.
Okay.
That'll be your next time. We'll have to get together and maybe get us a group podcast going, some other guys in the room. Man, that may be crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I would definitely have to get a new SD card.
That's exactly right. So
bigger one.
That's that'll probably be the next time, one of those two.
So, I don't think you're much of a podcast listener from what I understand. Well, that we do talk a little bit of hunting on this podcast sometimes.
Oh, yeah, it's a rule. It's definitely
I don't know that you've got anything really to talk about, do you? I mean, do you have any blood down or anything? Or blood on?
Well, see, I don't think I've informed you. No, I don't think I've informed you. Well, see, Cody's over here laughing because he does, but Jeff, my youngest child weighs more than one of the deer he killed this year. So,
that's exactly right. Right. You're picky like me, it's like, oh, should I? And then no. Right.
No, but I was going to tell you, I've dang near just given up the deer hunting. I'm telling you, I'm just a coyote hunter now.
I see that in some of those snaps and such. You guys are thinning the herd.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. You can hunt them year round. You can hunt them day or night. It's just so different because you're not out there. Oh, I wonder if because there's one big buck in a 10-mile radius. Is he going
to up your odds with coyotes?
Yeah, you go out and coyote hunt. Well, not only that, but everyone wants you to hunt their property for coyotes. So,
yeah, come on over. Yeah, drive down to that holler.
And go out there and call, and they'll howl back, and that hair on your neck will just stand up, and all of a sudden you'll start to see a heat signature on that thermal scope or the spotter, and boom, here they come. And they're coming to you. And and as soon as you see that signature, the clock's ticking. There is a ticking time bomb, and that coyote will figure out you're there eventually.
Yep.
And so you have to walk that line of, do I take the shot now? He's 150 yards, because shooting through a thermal is not as easy as shooting through a regular scope.
Right.
Judging distance is extremely hard. So it's like, do I shoot now or do I wait for them to come in? And then you wait, and then boom, they wind you and they're gone.
A lot more activity going on than deer hunting. I mean, deer hunting's a lot of dead time.
Yep.
It's fun. It's fun, man. We'll have to get you out sometime. It is a riot. And so yeah, that's what we've been doing a lot of. I do have some high hopes. Well, I'd like some snow to really finish off a deer hunting season here.
There you go. That's exactly. Yeah.
That would be all right for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if we could get an inch of snow, I tell you, I'd draw some blood on a deer.
Yeah. We're starting to get a little coating here. The roofs are all white, and the ground's trying to get white. So, yeah, we're getting a little dose.
Well, we better head west.
Yeah.
Cody.
Yeah, well, I will be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
There you go, out in the wide open spaces.
Mm-hmm. Literally the wide open spaces.
That's right.
All right. Well, we talked some deer hunting, talked some coyote hunting, and we talked a lot of Yetter farm equipment with Jeff Wherley. It's always a good time to get Jeff on board, and we appreciate everything you do. And it's always a blast talking to you.
It is, and always great talking to you guys and texting. Yeah, I always enjoy it, and that's what I like feeling is I'm always in your back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
You don't ever know something, call me, text me, or whatever. But yeah, it's always fun working with Mfg equipment. So,
well, we feel the same, and I need to get out that way sometime here. And it's been a while since I've been to Yetter. It's been a while since I've stayed at the Wherley Inn.
I know. That's exactly right. That's it. Still have all the bedrooms typically available. So yeah.
Cool. Well, I appreciate your time today, Jeff, and we're going to get off here, let you get back at it. I'm sure you've got some calls to catch up on. So,
well, appreciate it, guys. Appreciate you inviting me on, and as always, have a happy New Year and a safe one. And hopefully, back to Tuesday, we'll be hitting the ground running.
That's right. Yep.
You too. Have a happy New Year, and we'll be seeing you soon.
Okay. Talk to you guys.
Yep. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.